Welcome back, champions. Today, we walk the path of overcoming limits, guided by Nietzsche's philosophy, where you will learn how to break free from the chains that bind you and stride toward personal excellence. This is not just a journey of thought, it's an urgent call to transcend the obstacles that hold you back, to embrace your struggle, and to transform your very being. As we explore Nietzsche's teachings, we aim to ignite that inner flame, a lust to rise above every challenge and exceed your own expectations. Together, let us see what it means to go beyond what you once thought possible. As we embark on this exploration, understand that Nietzsche did not offer comfort to those who sought to avoid struggle. His message was for the daring, the ones who recognize that comfort is a prison. For him, life itself is a battlefield, where the will to power is the driving force behind every action, every breath. To accept Nietzsche's challenge is to acknowledge that limits exist only to be surpassed, and that the true measure of one's strength is revealed in how they wrestle with the boundaries set before them. You see, to Nietzsche, overcoming limits is not a matter of momentary triumph. It is a lifelong struggle, a continuous act of self-overcoming. It's about being willing to look at the reality of who you are, stripped of illusion, stripped of the comforts we cling to, and seeing not what you wish to be, but what you can become. It is the act of constantly reshaping yourself in the fires of adversity. It's the recognition that the more we struggle, the more we grow, and that our limits are not fixed. They expand in proportion to our willingness to confront them. Nietzsche's philosophy is centered around the concept of 𝐷𝐵𝐺, or the overman. This is not an ideal to be reached, but rather a process, a becoming. The overman is the one who dares to push beyond the inherited values and limitations of society, who creates new values, and who finds meaning in the act of overcoming rather than in any final state of being. As Nietzsche said, "Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" This question is not meant to provoke guilt or self-judgment, but to awaken a recognition within us. We are more than what we currently are, and our greatest potential lies beyond our self-imposed limits. To surpass these limits, we must begin by embracing the struggle rather than shying away from it. Friedrich Nietzsche famously declared, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." At first glance, this may appear as a simple call to resilience, yet beneath it lies a deeper challenge, a demand that we do not merely survive hardship, but that we emerge from it transformed, more powerful than before. It is not enough to endure. We must be changed by what we endure and allow our pain to carve out a new version of ourselves, more capable of conquering future trials. And yet, many are afraid to embrace this struggle. The comforts of society, the acceptance of mediocrity, and the illusion of safety, these are the traps that bind us. Nietzsche would have us recognize that comfort is an anesthetic. It dulls our senses, making us forget that there is something beyond mere survival. A life lived purely for comfort is a life not lived at all. It is merely an existence. We must tear ourselves from the embrace of ease and choose the difficult path, the path that forces us to grow, that demands we evolve. Nietzsche often spoke of the eternal recurrence, a thought experiment that asks, if you had to live your life over and over again for eternity, would you embrace it, or would it be a curse? This idea forces us to confront the choices we make and the actions we take. Are we living in a way that would make us proud to repeat every moment for all eternity? Or are we shackled by our own fears, unable to pursue the life we truly desire? To overcome limits, we must live as if every action is part of an infinite cycle of becoming. It is a call to authenticity, to ensure that every choice, every challenge we face, is worthy of eternal repetition. But how do we begin this process? We start with what Nietzsche called amor fati, the love of fate. It is the acceptance, not merely of the good that happens, but of everything that life throws our way, even the painful and the ugly. Nietzsche tells us, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. It is through embracing everything, through affirming our life in its entirety, that we gain the strength to shape it. We are not passive recipients of fate. We are the sculptors of it, forging meaning from the raw materials of our experience. To cultivate amor fati is to accept our struggles as necessary, even desirable. It is to see our limitations not as barriers, but as opportunities for growth. Each obstacle, each pain, each challenge is a chance to become stronger, to test our mettle, to push our boundaries further than we thought possible. This is not the resignation of a victim, but the resolve of a warrior who sees in every battle a chance to refine his skill. In choosing this mindset, we adopt a warrior's spirit, unyielding, always seeking to expand our strength, not through avoiding difficulties, but by embracing them. As we confront our limits, we may find ourselves tempted to compare our progress with others, to measure our worth by external standards. But Nietzsche urges us to turn inward, to set our own measures of greatness. He said, "No one can build you the bridge on which you, and only you, must cross the river of life." This is a reminder that our paths are unique, that the journey to overcome oneself is a solitary one. We must forge our values, our ambitions, our standards, not from the expectations of society, but from the depths of our own will to power. And this will to power is not simply the drive to dominate or to control. It is the desire to expand one's own capacities, to push one's potential to the very limits. It is the force that compels us to create, to aspire, to transcend. It is not enough to exist as we are. We must strive to become something greater. This striving is what Nietzsche considered the essence of life itself, a constant becoming, a perpetual ascent. In this pursuit, we may stumble, we may fall, but even in those moments, we find strength in rising once again, and each time, we rise a little higher. Overcoming our limits does not require perfection. It requires persistence. It demands that we accept our imperfections as part of our humanity and refuse to be defined by them. As we embrace our flaws and weaknesses, we must also confront the parts of ourselves that are comfortable, that are complacent. We must recognize that comfort is an enemy to our growth. It is the voice that tells us to settle, to be satisfied, to stay where we are. But the voice of Nietzsche whispers differently. Become who you are. This is not a call to discover a pre-existing self, but to create oneself, to shape one's identity through action, to define oneself through struggle and triumph. Let us not misunderstand. The road to overcoming limits is not easy. It is marked by doubt, by pain, by moments when we question our strength, but it is precisely in these moments that we prove our worth. When we stand at the edge of our capabilities and dare to take one more step forward, we are not just surpassing our limits, we are redefining them. Each small victory adds up. Each challenge faced expands our boundaries until what was once impossible becomes within reach. To overcome is not to erase our limits, but to constantly push against them. It is the courage to defy the voice that says enough and to whisper back, more. It is not about reaching a final destination, but about finding meaning in the journey itself, about loving the climb more than the peak. As we pursue this path, let us not forget the spirit of amor fati. Let us embrace every twist, every turn, as necessary steps on our way to becoming who we truly are. Remember, champions, that this path is not for the faint-hearted, but for those willing to stare into the abyss and see, not despair, but possibility. In the end, our greatest limitations are not the obstacles before us, but the doubts within us. It is by confronting these doubts, by challenging the very boundaries we have set for ourselves, that we transcend our current selves. As we close, take this message to heart. The struggle to overcome is the essence of life itself. Do not shy away from it. Let it shape you, transform you, and drive you to exceed your limits. Like Nietzsche's overman, seek not just to live, but to thrive in the face of adversity, to rise above comfort and ease, and to find your true strength. If you found value in this journey and seek more ways to challenge your mind and strengthen your spirit, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Let's beat the algorithm together and fill our feeds with content that sharpens our resolve. Also, check out our other videos to expand your understanding of ancient wisdom and to further your journey in mastering your masculinity. Until next time, champions, stay strong and stay committed to your path.